Hello there, yes. Well, it is the weekend. This is good. Yes, just wanted to be rude about David Frost for a short period of time. Not that one. Not that one with the interviews. The other one, the Brexit guy. Yeah, him. Anyway, I was writing yesterday in the Telegraph. So I've had this, been savouring this all day. So I thought we'd do some choice morsels from it because it's really quite a load of old tosh. But you'd expect that from David Frost, a man that keeps on promising that he's going to stand as an MP. Maybe not after Thursday's by-election results, eh? Still, anyway, Lord Frost, who seems to have quite a lot of influence on government policy, even though he's not an elected member of Parliament, he's a bit concerned about citizenship, because apparently you lot, aren't very loyal. So, yeah, in the comments section of the Telegraph, we should expect British citizens to be loyal to Britain. The UK has a particularly weak sense of the meaning of citizenship, and we're currently seeing the cost. Anyway, let's dive in. It's been a strange and rather disturbing week. Yes, it has, hasn't it? I've noticed that as well, but for me it's been for other reasons. First, we had last weekend's sinister and intimidating anti-Israeli demonstrations. Yes, sinister. Whenever you don't like anything, it's always sinister. You may notice this. This is newspeak for things that are left-wing that I don't like. To be repeated this Saturday, just in case you have plans for a relaxing day out in central London. Yes, don't go to central London. There'll be lots of bad people doing bad things. Then there was the BBC's unreflective relaying of Hamas propaganda as fact. Yeah, I don't think so, but anyway, and its refusal, as always, to admit it got anything wrong. Again, I don't think so. All I've been hearing for the last 2 days is the BBC describing Hamas as terrorists. There you go. And behind it all, the drumbeat of war in the Middle East, the attacks on embassies and synagogues, and the reminder that significant parts of our own population sympathise with fearsome and violent ideologies. Yes, they do indeed, because I, unfortunately, on my Twitter feed, get to see the Lotus Eaters. Really horrific. Or Darren Grimes and his crypto-fascism. Very, very, very nasty. You're right. Oh, no, you don't mean that, do you? Of course not. In the circumstances, not surprising that many have called not just for arrest and deportations, but deprivations of the British citizenship of anti-Semitic, pro-Hamas activists. Yeah. It wouldn't be a bad idea if such people realistically existed outside of the fervid imagination of Lawrence Fox. They don't really, do they? They're just a bunch of concerned citizens, that word, and who are out in the streets protesting legitimately, that word again, that you don't like, yeah? I have every sympathy with the frustration this reveals, and certainly if we pass laws, we must see them enforced. But still, at least as regards citizenship, I think we risk falling into a trap. Do you, David? I think you've fallen into a trap many times, mate, especially in terms of your negotiating record, eh? Moving on from that, thin veil, etc. Deprivations of British citizenship have been increasing in recent years. Shamina Burgum is the most famous case, but it seems to me in principle undesirable and to betray an unsatisfactory view of citizenship itself, and nevertheless one which is widely held. That is the view that citizenship is just a piece of paper, a legal nicety, and not something that necessarily involves emotional connection, historical or cultural content, or reciprocal loyalties. No, David, you're totally wrong, I'm afraid. What you mean is there are people that don't agree with you who are different colours, and you suspect that they go for the other cricket team. That's what you mean, mate. If you're going to be racist, at least come out with it. Get it out there, mate. Okay, rather than all the nitty bitty. Oh, yeah, I think they're fine, but apart from, they're not very like us. Yes, indeed. We don't ask much of new or even lifelong British citizens. Okay, and since we don't, can we be surprised that so many have struck such strong loyalties elsewhere? Yes, indeed. You see, these people are loyal elsewhere, whereas we need to make sure that they are more loyal to us here. Whoever us is, because unfortunately, David, I don't think means me. Okay, it's rather unfashionable now to think of that British citizenship should be overtly loyal to our institutions, fly the flag, or believe that the country has national interests distinct from others which we have a responsibility to uphold. Yes, well, we do, and I do, David, but I think what you're grasping at here is something else, isn't it? Acquiring British citizenship is now principally a process requirement, a check on whether you've lived here long enough and can pass the dubious question and answer test. Yes, indeed. But perhaps loyalty isn't just simply to one set of political views, David, unelected lord that you are, etc. Yeah? Maybe that's it. Anyway, last bit before he delves into the spurious notion of Northern Ireland, which I'm going to spare his blushes about. In turn, this is why the British state can so lightly decide to take your citizenship away if it thinks it's not conducive to the public good, and if you have another option, however discontinued from your real circumstances. Historically, this attitude is unusual. Yes, it's almost like it's the mark of an authoritarian group of conservative prime ministers and home secretaries who've just decided they don't like people with particular views or indeed skin colours, isn't it, David? In the past, the Fenian rebels from America in 1867 through to Lord Haw in 1945, the British state has sought to assert, if necessary, that its apparently foreign opponents were British nationals, so it could prosecute and punish them. Yes, we wanted to hang them, which is why we wanted to go all the way through the legal processes, because they were foreigners and nasty and against the British interest, and for God's sake, they were bleeding Irish, which is proper British anyway, is it? Not in those days, like that it wasn't. Isn't anymore either. Only more recently it's taken the easy way out to shuffle off its responsibility and pass them on to others. Yes, indeed, David. Yeah? And then we just leave these people in limbo, having decided, you and your lot having decided that they're guilty of something without any form of trial, because obviously one of the marks of citizenship and, democratic state should be that people are just, thrown on the scrap heap with no trial, just simply because they probably are different. Yes, anyway, moving on, say drawing a thin veil over the Northern Ireland stuff, but it's all a bit feeble, and that's because we're reluctant to acknowledge bluntly that the British state isn't just the sum of people who happen to be standing on this island at any given moment. It's a project, a creation of mutual loyalty, a wish to solve our problems together in our own homeland, which is just a bunch of words, realistically, isn't it? I mean, nobody is required to invest things in their own citizenship, David, okay? I'm not really quite sure how you'd enforce that, mate. People can join it, but that ought to bring with it unfashionable concepts like loyalty to Britain, opposition to the king's enemies, and in circumstances putting the country interests above your own. Well, most of us do, David, except when we're simply presented with the notion that people, when we're instructed that certain people are our enemies, or indeed the enemies of the state, in other words, people that you have decided that you want to impose on us, I think that we, the good citizens of this UK, have the right to say you can bog off with it. Yeah? You're deciding who my enemies are and instructing me that if I don't agree with you, that I really need to have a long think about some of my rights. That's realistically what you mean, isn't it? We should do more to ensure it means something to have British citizenship, and then perhaps be more judgmental about who we give it to as well. Okay, if you like. How about a nice kind of, service guarantee citizenship view? I'd be more than happy with that. I have worked in the public sector almost all of my life. I think I've given a lot, David. I just don't happen to agree with your lot who make having real bona fide faith in this country very, very, very hard to have. I don't see it as my problem. I see it as yours. Yeah? That's the issue, matey, isn't it? Yeah? Anyway, enough of that. Yeah, I don't know, these people bug me. These people do bug me with this notion that I am not being loyal enough to another country. Anyway, it's Saturday. Thank God, at long bleeding last. Do have a lovely, lovely weekend. Stay dry. Pussycat's not too happy, but he at least can go out briefly today before it starts raining again. Yeah, thank God that global warming isn't real. Do have a nice one.